Blazing screens, chaos unfolds, crimson law, tales retold, anime wars, blades collide, justice screams, nowhere to hide. Crimson law, judgment reigns, sharp critique, breaking chains, blood red ink by the blade, truth unleashed for silverhead, elven face. Elven face. Neon skies, warriors clash, pixel worlds, honor smashed, battle cries, vengeance near, crimson's wrath, all self-fear. Thunder roars the verdict grim, mechs explode, lights grow dim, bloodlines torn, broken dreams, crimson law silencing screams. As heroes fall and villains rise, shattered dreams and severed ties, stand and fight, the time is nigh, rising up to do what's right. Crimson law, judgment reigns, sharp critique, breaking chains, blood red ink by the blade, truth unleashed for silverhead, elven babes.
Good evening, everyone. How are we doing on this? I want to say lovely because I don't particularly think it has been a lovely Saturday, but it is a Saturday. It exists, and well, we're in it or something like that. This is going swimmingly. So tonight, no manga recap segment. I didn't do a whole lot of reading this week. And the stuff I did read was just sort of like weeklies that I have talked about, somewhat regularly. So I don't feel the need to constantly go over every chapter. Plenty of channels out there that already do that. And if you people were into those kinds of things, you would probably have already, seen it. So we're not going to talk about Don the Don or Ocher the Flame or any of that kind of stuff. I didn't do any big reading, so it is what it is. However, we are going ahead with the other three segments. So we will be talking about Akiba Maid War tonight, because that's something that I have watched now and have feelings about. We also have, our actual poll from last week to go over. That's the word I'm looking for, the poll. So we have a winner. And then, of course, our usual anime recap for the week. So, with that said, how we doing, guys? We got Marcel, Jeremy Turner. I'm sure there are more of you guys lurking around. And if Muffler Tape is doing as he said, a bunch of people are, this is subpar quality. I don't know if you're trying to heckle me or if you're just, if you're being serious and there's something wrong on my end, but whatever. I'm not doing anything different, so we're just going to keep rolling with it. I don't think there is anything. Yeah, on my end, it looks fine. So you're either just fucking with me. Oh, you mean that I suck, Crimson? I may suck, but at least I'm slow. So let's get started with the night. Okay, so Akiba Maid War. I will quickly bring up my critic list review here that I prepared ahead of time and figured out why I couldn't log in last week. It was because I was using the wrong email. I used my personal email for this and not my YouTube email because I have the brain damage, as evidenced by the fact that I'm incredibly autistic about anime. But here we go. So, Akiba Maid War on critic list. This is Crimson's review. I will read what I wrote here, and then we'll go over it in a little bit more detail. So I give it a 65, and I treat this as like a out of 10, so 65, 6.5. Another gooner. boobs for the boob god or something like that, you know. Anyway, so Akiba Made War. Akiba Made War can be best described as a Tarantino film turned into an anime. The premise is about as ridiculous as they come. What if maid cafes in Akihabara behaved like the Yakuza? It is, in fact, every bit as dumb and every bit as violent as you would expect from the above information. Nagami Wahira is a young woman who comes to the area looking to be a maid, only to be swept up in the violent turf wars. Her and her crew at the Oinky Doink are constantly running up against challenges as they try to scrape together enough money to pay their dues to the head of their organization. The show has its moments. I certainly got more out of it in the latter half than I did in the beginning. Its characters are probably the best part of the show, and you'll likely be more invested in the quote-unquote hag character, Ranko Manyan, than the main character herself. But it's a little outside of my personal wheelhouse. If you want something ridiculous that takes pretty standard fluff elements of working in a maid cafe and mixing them with gratuitous violence, and almost parody-level dialogue at times, this will be the show for you, but for me, it comes off as a little too much of an unserious parody. It's decently enjoyable, but there's always that nagging issue of all the goofy maid gimmicks getting taken just a bit too seriously. So I don't really enjoy it as much. Language, the English dub definitely has some F-bombs in there. There's no political violence in it. Violence, there's plenty of gore. I mean, the girls are shooting each other, stabbing each other, bludgeoning each other. So there's a good amount of blood and all that kind of stuff. Family friendly? No. Nudity, sexual content. There's like one scene where I actually think there's like nudity in it. And it likely has a specific audience. And I'm just not, a part of it. But that being said, a bit more detailed review of it for those of you who are around here. I think the first part of the show doesn't really get me going. I'm not like into like the whole maid thing, the maid cafe thing, and like I respect its idea to do something like creative and like interesting and just kind of be like out there. I have no qualms with something like that. But at times it's just like they're so stuck to the gimmicks that they're doing that like even in like their like final words as they're like getting shot in all this, they're still making animal puns and shit. And when it comes down to it, it just ends up not being my kind of ridiculousness. Like I don't know how to say it other than like there are different flavors of ridiculous that are out there. Some of them work for me, some of them don't, and it's probably irrational. But I don't know quite how to explain it other than like a lot of the ones that I do end up enjoying tend to be a little bit more serious and earnest in the way they do things. The ones I don't tend to like really like butter on the gimmick. And this was one of those latter ones where like the gimmick was a really big part of the series, like with the dialogue and everything, like treating the whole maid thing like there's this giant code of honor that they're supposed to follow, like they're knights or something, was a bridge too far for me. But again, the latter half of the series, as time went on, I feel like the fact that their cast was pretty limited and they didn't bring in a ton of new characters over the course of it, I feel like they actually did in 12 episodes have some really good character arcs. Ranko, the main character herself, why do I forget her name even though I wrote it down in here? Nagami. The main character herself, Nagami, had a good character arc. I like that you see her go from like the let's all just get along and abandon the violence, and then stuff happens and she decides she's gonna go full on like we're gonna start a war and we're gonna kill people. And the Gyaru girl, I ended up liking her, the main girl. Even the mascot had a good story. Russian girl was probably the weakest backstory of them all, but it was still decent, Either way, like I liked the cast. I thought they all had great personalities, and really the thing that just made it not quite to my taste ended up being specifically like how seriously they ended up taking this whole maid thing. It ended up feeling very choony, and I didn't really care much for that. It's not the worst thing in the world. It is a decently enjoyable show. But and given a lot of the hype that I got surrounding the series, I don't think it was quite that good. 6.5 is about where I feel about it. Like it's worth a watch if you ask me. Like that's in the range where it's like it is worth a watch. But would I personally ever watch it again? Probably not. It's like a one and done sort of thing. So that's where we are with Akiba Maid War. Its best feature, characters, character writing, and personalities. Um, least favorite feature, definitely the commitment to the mage stick. All right, that's the last of the tea. Now let's move on. It's like an 8 or a 9 for me. JM, the Elite fan, how are you doing? I don't know if you're still around or anything, but hello. Easy 9 for me. Absolutely loved it. Like, I don't have any problem with the show in and of itself. It literally just comes right down to personal taste. And that's not exactly like a rational, objective thing. But for me, if you're asking me about the show, yeah, you'll get a kick out of it. It's worth a watch. Not the most amazing thing, though. Objectively, not the most amazing thing, I don't think. There was a suspicious lack of fan service in the premise, IMO. I don't even think that has anything to do with it. I feel like, insofar as the show goes, I probably would have liked it more if it was a little bit more to like taking the whole like Yakuza-esque sort of thing that's going on there, like the mafia stuff. If they had focused a little bit like taken that more seriously and just kind of had like the maid thing as a cover, it actually probably would have been more up my wheelhouse. But in this case, not so much because they were taking the maid thing very, very, very seriously and having all these characters be like, well, that's what a maid is supposed to do. Like, this is what being a maid is all about. And like the whole like code of honor thing that was going on for the maids was just, that's the best way I can describe it. Anyway, with that said, we will move on to talking about next week's, or this upcoming week's viewing item. And that happens to be by 69% of the vote, how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. So that's what we are going to be up to next week. Now, for those of you who are in chat, I guess at the end of the night, I will see if I can do something about like putting everyone on a like I don't know, I guess a spin the wheel sort of thing. And we'll spin the wheel, select a name, and then that person will get to choose an anime to put on the list, and we'll do that 4 times, and we'll see how many people are still around. If we don't have enough people around to do something like that, then well, I guess I'll just pick one myself, or we'll have someone go again. Anyway, that brings us really to if you get into this one, 17 light novels are on Audible. That actually might be a good listen. You know what? I wonder. Do I have Audible? Let's see. I'm kind of curious now. Hold on. Guess they don't have it. Let's see. How a okay. Yep, how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. There are, in fact, quite a number of books. Cool. All right, tangent. Well, now that all that is done, we will get into the big ticket item of the night. See if I can close some of this shit out so it's not as flashy on the screen. Again, I keep forgetting that I need to get some sort of ad block or something here. Oops. That was the wrong thing. Here we go. Here we go. All right, this week's anime rankings. And this is where we were as of last week. We've got Yakuza at the top, and shortly after followed by May I Ask for One Final Thing and Ranma and a Half. In the category below that, we had Campfire Cooking in Another World, The Dusk Beyond the End of the World, Standa, Unlimited Gotcha, Alma Wants to Be a Family, Interesting, we had My Status as an Assassin, A Wild Last Boss appears, Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider, Pass the Monster, Meet My Awkward Senpai. I don't really need to read through a lot of these. We'll get to them. But that brings us specifically to Gachiakuta today. So we get Core 2 with this stuff now. And they are all, or our group is returning from battle. They're coming back from the wastelands and everything and having their debrief and all that. And in this, we get to see Senmu kick some ass and see how her spectacles actually work. She basically just has her giver item, her vital instrument, is just Sharingan. So, this is just a hot black chick with Sharingan. And we also find out that the cleaner's base is protected by the quote-unquote invincible shut-in. So somehow this guy's vital instrument is an entire building, and it's just indestructible. But in all of the, festivities of returning from the battle and everything, our group has a run-in with some of the raiders. They're at a celebration, eating dinner and everything. A couple of the other teams show up, and then they are abducted by the raiders and thrown into battle against some of their top fighters, which include, of course, the leader of the raiders, as well as everyone's least favorite psychopath, Jabber. So it looks interesting. We've basically set up something cool for the next arc or so. And we are also given a new intro, which now I don't like the new intro as much as Hugs from Pale Dusk, but it has a nice punk sound to it that does really fit the whole show. So that's cool. Gachiakuta, still like it. Unfortunately, it is no longer the top dog for the season. Because last week I said we were talking about a theory that I believe it was Marcel who put this out there, that this could be a possibility. We were talking about a theory of whether or not this could be some sort of creative take on an isekai. And I said if that were true, this would be number one. Well, it's number one now. So let's get into this. So, in this latest episode, Marcel for the win. And at that point, I would have to ask, do you have insider knowledge of this series? Did someone read the manga and then just pretend like nothing happened there? Yeah, crazy that the theory was right. Anyway, we'll get into this. This is why episode 4 of this just made this absolutely banger anime. If it wasn't good enough, now we're getting into some really crazy storytelling. So Scarlet goes into, the auction, the slave auction, with the intent of busting everyone who was there, particularly the prime minister. And this is where we have the first of a couple of proposals that happen over the night, in which no, I didn't. I was as surprised as anyone else. All right. Well, congratulations, sir. You get the smarty pants cap tonight, okay? You were the one who called it. Bravo. Anyway. So we have this whole exchanging of vows thing that goes on between the first prince and Scarlet, where he's like, "I need you to swear your loyalty to me, and then I will let you do as you please here. You can beat the shit out of anyone you want, and I'm not gonna get in your way." So we have that, and so she goes and she beats up a bunch of dudes on a balcony. Basically, grabs one dude by the ankle and decides to beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker. So that was fucking funny. And then she goes to pursue the prime minister because he's trying to, get away. He thinks he's going to escape with the prince of another of the neighboring empire. But none of that goes to plan. The prince may have have the blessing of, steel and like be able to harden his body and everything, but that won't save you from a concussion if Scarlet kicks you in the head 20 times. That's a creative way to go about it, but congratulations, Scarlet. You brute strength your way through a challenge. She also puts a dragon in its place. And in the end, the very last part of this show we get is effectively Scarlet closing in on the prime minister and him starting to spout off everything he knows about Terranetza, the pink-haired lady who appeared at the ball. Which, I mean, there was a lot of attention put on her in that season, in that episode. I don't know where that word came from. In that episode, by the fact that she sort of just disappears and nobody really mentions her after she gets socked in the face by Scarlet. So the prime minister starts spouting off everything he knows about Terranetza. And in that, we learn that she apparently is claiming to be reincarnated from another world. This show has done something that I don't think I've seen in any series before. This is a new one for me. Where there's one person reincarnated into the world, and they are, in fact, the only reincarnation. So we have an isekai story where the isekai character is the antagonist, not the protagonist. And I won't say villain because Overlord is the villain story, but Ainz is the protagonist. In this case, Terranetza is the antagonist. So crazy. This is something really cool. But that's all we'll have to say about that. The next one on the list is Ranma and a Half. And honestly, I've been really loving season 2. Season 1, I sort of started to tire as we got closer and closer to the end of season 1. But season 2, I feel like I've come back into this very refreshed on this season, on this show. So we have Ranma's duel with Moose. And that goes interestingly as he can't transform back into a dude. He's stuck in lady form the whole time. So he makes a whole joke out of it to excuse the fact that he's a girl. And then is able to temporarily, because of Dr. Tofu, turn back into a guy, kick Moose's ass, and then he's transformed back into a woman. And we're still stuck in this part of the series. He has effectively been trapped like this. That's the best way I can do it. So now we have Ranma going about trying to learn how he is going to get the Phoenix pills from the old lady who in the English dub is voiced by Rita Repulsa. Um and I've enjoyed the antics so far. I like it a little bit better than when we're just solely focusing on Ranma being stuck as a girl. Um but I've still enjoyed the show. This one, if there were a lower level on the must watch category, it probably would go down with this latest episode, even though I did like the first half with like all the humor that was incorporated into that and the way they did it. It just annoys me that we're so stuck on this Ranma can't transform thing. But who knows how it's going to play out. Either way, season 2, I've enjoyed it quite a bit. And we're back. Sorry, I accidentally deleted my whole tab for Ranma notes instead of just the specific lines that I wanted to get rid of. So there we go. What's next? Campfire cooking in another world. I need to reorganize these to the actual rankings so I can just scroll down the list instead of having to go through and search all of them like a tard. So, campfire cooking in another world. Honestly, like this show, I feel like has just been like a fun, good anime to watch all the way through. Great cooking anime. I always like the animation that Mappa puts into doing this, into doing the cooking. I've enjoyed the cast so far. I'm glad that we haven't like. There's been a ballooning of like side characters, like with the gods who keep coming into the circle. But our main like core group has stayed relatively small. I mean, it's slowly increased. I feel like in doing that, you don't make people exhausted of new characters coming in. So, I mean, obviously with the season we have, Dora-chan, and then there are the existing characters who are already there from season 1, Fel, Sui, and our main character himself. We get a little bit more of Elrond in this, where he's like this fanatic about monsters and everything and like taking notes and very quickly learning that everything that is written might not be correct about all of the legendary creatures he's encountered, especially with like the pixie dragon stuff. And then we have Sui, getting the blessing of the god of blacksmithing, and the little slime can now make god tier weapons. And also at the same time, both of the overpowered monsters get the blessing of the god of war. So that's a thing. And it's just funny to me that like the entire pantheon is like slowly piling in and like blessing this group, just so that they can get offerings from another world. Like that's fun, and they're a great group of side characters who like aren't really like a huge part of like the core story. And I like it, as long as it stays that way, I'm okay with them adding more and more and more gods in. It's just once you start to get to the point where you are um watering down the writing of characters by just adding more, that's where the problem starts. And this one has not hit that point yet. Either way, very solid show. Not a must watch to me, but it is in that category where like I do highly recommend giving it a chance. It's going to be a much more chill show. It's not really focused on like a lot of action or anything. It's more so just a good like fantasy slice of life series. Its characters are good. It does a lot of the cooking stuff. So if like the cooking anime is the kind of thing you're into, this is definitely a creative take on it. Dusk after the end of the world, or as Jeremy likes to refer to it, Sticky Fingers the anime. So I'm gonna say it. This latest episode I felt was kind of doo doo. This latest episode sucked. It was not good, in my opinion. So you have our main character speed running a break in and out of the prison facility in which our artist girl was being held. And so they go through like the whole thing really quickly of like getting her out. They don't show you how our main guy actually snuck in and like got past all the security and everything, or how he got out. You just sort of get a scene of him getting like breaking her out of her cell and then running away from the guards. And then of course Yugure shows up to kick ass, and yay. Cool stuff. Honestly, that part of the episode kind of sucked, but we do get to a new town and they're having this whole like festival that's going on where like it's basically like a giant matchmaking party, and our whole crew ends up attending it one way or another. The android is getting absolutely wasted. The artist girl is just like, stuck on it. Oh, well, if you thought it was incestuous already, it's about to get even more incestuous. So I mean, here's the big part. And we have to play the clip because, well, it's relevant. Incest is wincest, I guess.
Sweet home Alabama.
So, we are introduced to two new characters this time around. And they're both like mobsters, basically. They are the last remaining children of the family that controls the town that our main group is in. And you have the playboy brother and the very strict, by the rules, by the book sister. And in order to become the head of the family, like they're both kind of competing to be head of the family, they basically have to, form an LC, or basically they have to get married, so they can have kids and can carry on the family lineage and all. But these two siblings in particular get along very well. And now they don't really mention it or anything because the main girl is like really strict and everything throughout the entire episode. Like she's very like straight laced, stone faced. But you get to like the matchmaking party and she just keeps rejecting dudes and rejecting dudes and rejecting dudes. And then you have the whole reveal that like she's in love with her brother. And now this isn't a situation where it is like, oh, she's in love with her adopted brother. No, this is straight up like actual cosanguine kind of stuff. Like they're half siblings, if I understand this correctly. So she's basically like really jealous that her brother is picking up a bunch of other chicks, and she is rejecting a bunch of dudes until she meets our main character. And then she finds out that the main guy has been in suspended animation for 2 centuries and is like, all right, you know what? Bet you're going to marry me. And that's where the episode ends. A drunk robot chick is getting picked up by the Playboy brother. Meanwhile, from the balcony, the rest of the group, the sister, the new artist girl, and the main guy are all watching. Honestly, with the pacing and the storytelling of this latest episode, I don't really think I want to justify this one being all the way up here. This could be one bad episode. But it wasn't the most sad. It wasn't the most enjoyable episode in this whole thing. Marcel out here, good for them. Step is for cowards anyway. Oh boy. Oh boy. That is a thing. Either way, I feel like the whole like harem building thing that goes on in this episode just was one of the bigger drags on it, but particularly what starts it out, what really like gets the downward slide in this episode going is the prison stuff. Like that prison thing probably should have been like an episode or two in and of itself of them like going about breaking in and trying to save the girl and all that. But no, we just get a few shots and then we move on. Wasn't the biggest fan of it. Okay, that brings us to Sanda. Sanda. Where the hell is Sanda? Okay. So, the core of this latest episode is that one of Sanda's new powers, one of his Santa Claus powers, is lie detection. If someone lies to Sanda or in his vicinity, something will fall over, basically. And he is at first in denial of this because that would mean that the chick who said that he was really sweet was just lying and was actually super creeped out about it. So that was kind of funny to go through the whole thing of like Sanda is now a living lie detector. He can tell basically when people are being dishonest. And then as we're going through all of this, we have Ono up here in the classroom. And she's alive. The girl that they've been looking for this whole time is alive. And then she runs off and disappears somewhere. And not even Sanda, while transformed, could catch up to her. He couldn't find her. It's also interesting that someone in class knew that she wasn't dead because someone lied in class while they were asking about it and a bunch of books fell over. But they didn't actually confirm who it was. Yeah, pretty much. He can tell if you're naughty or nice. And the episode ends with the Santa Pursuit Squad coming in, and their main guy getting onto Sanda's case. So it's going to be very interesting next episode with Sanda now being under the barrel of a gun. With someone who is, used to hunting him. Either way, I've enjoyed this show. And like it's one of the zanier Christmas anime out there. Like, it's probably one of the only Christmas anime out there, like one that's specifically focused on Christmas. But either way, it's stupid. It's fun. I enjoy it. All right, that brings us down to Unlimited Gacha. So, we get a revenge episode this time around. And this all goes with, our maid girl going to Garo the wolf and baiting him into taking a job that brings them back down into the dungeon right where they supposedly tried to kill Light. And now Garo kind of realizes that this may be a trap of some kind. And just goes along with it thinking like, oh, well, what we were hoping for, number 2, yes. But basically Garo goes along with it, ends up in the trap thinking that he is more than tough enough to handle it, only to find out that he is, in fact, not him. He's sitting here thinking himself tough shit because he's level 150, and then he finds out that there are a lot bigger fish in the world. So, again, we do see a little bit of like the actual like training and everything that goes into Light's character. And I'm moving this up a little bit because depending on how the next couple of episodes go, I may actually end up putting this in must watch. It has been a very satisfying experience. We got Garo basically being put in his place and realizing that the main character is absolutely ready to go to war with the entire world, that he's been building up an army for 3 years. And now I know a lot of people complained about episode 2, like just not being as good. Really, my biggest problem with it was the fact that it was just jarring to have that time skip without any explanation. However, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. This episode, though, was the very satisfying experience I had hoped for, especially with Light doing a lot of the work himself. And Biggles Mets is in the chat. Oh yeah, episode 3 was good. And the stupid wolf pissed himself. Yes. He was completely put in his place. It was a great experience. But he didn't mount that bitch's head. I'm still waiting for them to skin him and use his hide as a rug. I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to play out. He's like sitting here like tough shit because he can summon a level 500 wolf. Meanwhile, everything out there is like at least 3 times its level, and he's only level 150. He's just like, oh shit, I fucked up. Yeah, pretty much. And that brings us to Alma-chan. Alma-chan wants to be a family. And yeah, as far as the Fenrir scene goes, like just the fact that like the one that Light summons literally just breathes and then kills that thing instantly is pretty crazy. I'm looking forward to seeing again how the show goes because Light has very clearly put in a lot of effort to like improve himself and actually get revenge by his own hands. So I'm very curious to see where they're going to go with this. I'm glad that they actually let him do a lot of that stuff himself. Either way, Alma-chan, one of my probably my favorite cute endearing anime of the season. So in this, we basically have our little robot girl meeting her big brother, the cleaning robot that they made as an experimental prototype. And she spends a lot of time riding around with the robot and doing a bunch of shenanigans in the background while her dad is working. That part was good, but really I think then we get into the cooking segment of it where wifey is out here trying to like cook for her man and doing everything she can and just to surprise him with her cooking skill because she previously hadn't been very good at it, and actually ended up pulling off the surprise successfully. But really, the best part of this episode, I think, was when the sister arrives and he tries to hide everything and like pretend he's not in a relationship or anything. And then it turns into like just her, jumping out and like getting mistaken as like the girlfriend and everything. And just, it's a good episode. It's a nice little like romance thing going on. I usually am not like a huge fan of like the robot stuff. Like, the anime, my wife has no emotion. That's like parasocial relationship kind of stuff. That one was a little bit weird to me. But you get into like stuff like Alma-chan wants to be a family. Like you have 2 people who are like clearly like have a thing for each other. But it's the little robot girl who is just like, you 2 should be together. Like you 2 clearly like each other. You 2 should be together. Like pushing them to actually, pursue a relationship instead of pretending to be world conquering mad scientists. It's a good little show to watch. Well, I'm glad I could get you into it. It's one that is definitely it's a good one. I have really enjoyed this one this season. And that brings us to the interesting category, because now we have gone through all of these. Interesting. Let's start with my status as an assassin clearly exceeds the heroes. I started Sanda. I think I told you that. You might have, but I don't remember if you said anything about it. Anyway, my status as an assassin clearly exceeds the heroes. There is a harsh fall off in this from episode 1. I'm going to be entirely honest. It's there are very clear problems. Instead of like taking its time to develop the story and like slowly get into the like the betrayal, some of the darker things that are happening with the kingdom, the mind control and all of that stuff that's going on. They sort of just blitz through that and then dump our boy off in the bottom of a dungeon where he takes out a dragon in like 45 seconds. Reincarnator Clevitas is what I said. Huh. Anyway, so with this one's kind of going down here. This latest episode really does hit the wall, and I do enjoy it because obviously it fulfills a certain desire within me. That is, silver-haired elf women with, preferably big titties, but and because the girl is Clevitas's voice actor. Nice. Okay, cool. I still, like I said, I still enjoy the show, but like it has massive animation and pacing fall off in this. Like it's just that first fight was eye candy to get people hooked, and then nothing yet has lived up to that. The writing hasn't been that good. Its pace hasn't been doing it any service. It's just it is a rough production. I'm probably gonna give it a few more episodes, and if it doesn't like do something to like super get me back into this show, I'm probably not gonna stick around for it. Just being entirely honest. Like it's not particularly the most amazing display this season. This one has been the opposite of a couple of the other ones that have given me exactly what I wanted. This one has really let me down by not giving me what I was hoping for. You tried to sell something that wasn't there in the first episode. So this brings us over to a wild last boss appears. And we have a couple of cool things in this. So we are, of course, having the whole Ares thing wrapped up, and Ares was, of course, being manipulated by the demon Mars, and we get that whole thing where Mars goes through this very elongated like speech of like how I'm going to destroy you and do all this stuff and blah 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 blah. I'm so tough, and then gets absolutely wrecked in one punch. Yeah, it was there was that, but really the best part of this was just Lufus reuniting with the mage king of the city. And also healing up the Guardian so that any damage Ares had done was, taken care of. The stupid little femboy getting mistaken for a woman. And then we are introduced to the next leg of the story with, Libra, the Tomb Guardian. Now, what I can say is I have enjoyed Lufus as a character. I think that's really the big shining point in all of this show. Lufus as a character I have really liked. Just like the very powerful yet noble and good, I guess, character. Is someone who is like a good person doing good things and not being like bent out of shape or having this like huge chip on their shoulder or all that kind of stuff. I've enjoyed Lufus particularly. It is still living in Overlord's shadow, but it does a lot of things very differently from Overlord in a way that I think makes it an enjoyable experience in spite of that. So I'm looking forward to how they're going to go about this next part of the series. The animation, like I said, it can be really good in like certain areas, and then it can be meh in others. It has an interesting story and a lot of potential, but I don't think it has quite hit that mark of like, oh, this is really good yet. But it's an enjoyable series nonetheless. Reborn into the world, or reborn into an MMO world as your super overpowered evil character. And you have you had used you had a you have a bunch of like overpowered subordinates who follow you around and all that. They're mostly superficial similarities to Overlord. So there's that. I'll give you that. But it still does, fall into a very similar niche. Reincarnated as my overpowered game character. But did you see the after credits? I don't know if I don't remember what that was. I might not have. I might not have. So moving on. Tojima wants to be a Kamen Rider. Mars gets destroyed by another player. Interesting. Okay. So honestly, this was one that I thought I was going to end up dropping, but it's been one that I have quite well enjoyed over the course of this season. So in this series, we do learn that, in fact, in spite of all the Chuny stuff that is going on, Shocker is actually a real organization, and all of the monsters from Kamen Rider are actually in this show. And yeah, like Marcel said, that is something I didn't expect. It's a very interesting premise, and because of that, I'm actually moving it up here. There are other reasons why I'm moving it up to the very good category, but this is the one that you said you wanted to suck on dem titties. Yes. No, no, no. You don't understand. I want to be buried in her chest. Okay. I want to like put my face in there and just like, holy crap, she got a rack. Anyway, so our main two characters tag team a actual Shocker, and without any powers are able to take it down with their combined efforts. But then they run into an actual monster, and when they regroup, they meet another person like them who has been trying to prove the existence of the organization Shocker. And then from there, again, we have the teacher, Tackle, being confronted by the girlfriend of Cafe Boy, who also happens to be a monster. Really, the best part of this show is Jiggle Physics, the teacher. I'm not gonna, I ain't gonna sugarcoat it for you. Like, half the reason that I'm still watching this is because that girl got some, she got some assets. oh boy, she got some assets. It's cringy, choony stuff for the most part. There's a lot of like not taking it too terribly seriously, but I've liked how creative it has been. I've also, liked a particular character design, and some of it is just genuinely funny. Like it can be an enjoyable show. So I am looking forward to seeing much more of this, specifically because they decided to make the whole shocker thing like real. They decided that, oh well, we're just going to actually, make all the Kamen Rider villains real. We don't know anything about like an actual Kamen Rider or whatnot, but the villains are definitely real. It's fun. It's a creative way to go about it. It's done some interesting things. So congratulations. At first you had my interest. Now you have my erection. All right. Next on the list, we have Pass the Monster Meat, milady. Okay. I'm not as much of a fan of this show in this latest episode. To be entirely honest, the romance part of it is good. I like that. But this latest episode spends a lot of time on the monster stuff that I thought was just exceedingly boring, especially with like Chaos or whatever his name was, like running interference the whole time. I wasn't a fan of that first part, but once they actually got into the mother's office and they like started like talking and everything, and like just like once they were alone, I enjoyed this much more. I don't really care about like the food part of it or like the magic or monsters part of it. I am specifically here because I like the romance element of this anime. I think that is the part that sells me on it. And it is much more interesting at that point. So we'll see how it plays out. Maybe it comes back. But this latest episode really had me not giving it the best of rating. I just didn't get the best impression out of episode 3. And it's as simple as that. It's just like the bulk of it I didn't enjoy because the magic part and I like, and this is unusual. It was the magic part that I didn't really care for. Like the prepping monsters and the cooking of the meat and all that. Like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. Chaos was annoying in this episode, and a lot of this, like the other stuff that happened up until like they actually started like interacting with each other. And then we got to this point here, and I generally liked it. So like I enjoyed it. The one part that gave me what I was hoping for, I really enjoyed. The other part of this episode was not as good. And that was like a good 2/3 of the episode. My awkward senpai. All right, so in this latest episode, this is again one where like I feel less inclined to watch it after this latest episode, but it's still enjoyable. So we have the whole party organization thing. So our two main characters, Senpai and Kohai, are tasked with organizing the whole party for Kohai's arrival and for the celebration of uh, a wedding within the company. And in that time, we get the whole like the mug thing, which was cute. And then we get to the actual party itself, which involves Senpai, getting completely wasted because she's drinking so that Kohai doesn't have to drink a ton. And turns out she's a lightweight and ends up getting absolutely plastered to the point where like Kohai has to go help her home, and that results in some shenanigans. But through all of this, we do learn a little bit more about their relationship and how Mr. Kohai had an encounter during his interview with our main girl, our gamer girl, and she really encouraged him in their interaction. So that was a nice part, but like I don't, it just wasn't as interesting of an episode to me. Still a good like comfort anime for the season, but it's not something that I would be like particularly advertising as like one of the like must watch. I don't see that, to be entirely honest, Jeremy. I don't get that vibe from it. To me, this more so reminds me of My Senpai is Annoying, or anything that's like more so in like the casual office romance range. Okay. All right. So that brings us to um dad is a hero, mom is a spirit, I am a reincarnated. So with this latest episode, I feel like this show could have been done better. Like there were some things that were cut out. I feel like the trial scene was rushed, and they probably could have done more with it. Um, but that ended up not being the case. Again, like I said, there were things that were cut out of the show as a whole. Um, and fortunately, there was a break. A clean break with the family and everything. So it looks like our main girl is going to be getting a home on their family's previous estate. And yes, there was not enough focus on the mom this episode, so that was kind of disappointing. But we do have with this, the big things that were here is the conniving prince sort of trying to maneuver everything into his favor, and they constantly refer to him as black-hearted and untrustworthy and all that. So like he's obviously someone to watch out for. And again, of course, you have this whole thing with like everyone in the comment section when I watched this was just like, oh, she fell in love with a 7-year-old. Oh, like, oh, so she's a pedophile and like all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, I don't think you understand that the character wouldn't have the same concept of age, considering she is a timeless, immortal spirit. But maybe that's just me. Perhaps that is just me. I feel like it is a nothing burger complaint because, like, you don't really get much in the way of like context for that. It's just kind of like a one-off joke of like making some humor out of something that would have been a question that anyone would have obviously asked. But that being said, again, it is an enjoyable show. I kind of look forward to it. I hope we get more of the mother out of the upcoming episodes, but we shall see. All right, my friend's little sister has it in for. Okay. So I'm caught up on this. I've watched the past couple of episodes. So I've gotten through the desperate teacher thing and the Mashiro welcoming party. And that's actually all stuff that I have read in the novel. So this is all stuff that I was familiar with. I think they've done a good job of making Iroha a much more likable character in the anime versus in the light novel. Um the snowflake should watch some older anime. This is nothing. Perhaps. Um I'm completely blanking here for a second. Give me a second. Um Mashiro, we get a little bit more information on her. We get like it talks a little bit about how she was bullied, and we see our main character going out of his way to sort of like pester her into joining the group, and it just kind of like starts to talk about like him as a character. I think they do a pretty good job of beginning to outline who he is and what makes him tick, and I like that kind of stuff. We see a little bit with like everyone commenting about how Iroha clearly likes the dude, and he's just in complete denial of the fact that she's being a total tsundere. Basically, you have the two types of tsunderes around you, dude. You have the cold, standoffish tsundere, and then you have the one who teases you. The overly personal teasing tsundere. And bro just can't realize that he's surrounded by girls that like him. But I've enjoyed this show so far. Is it going to perhaps turn into like a love triangle rant? There is still that possibility, but it's doing better than a lot of the other ones that have been that have come out. So I still think there is a good chance that I will enjoy this show. And I want to get a little bit deeper into it before I really start sending it anywhere. I particularly like this one because main character actually behaves with a decent amount of backbone. He doesn't just take a lot of shit lying down. He doesn't like constantly fall for like the traps and everything. Like he actually shows some spine. So I respect him for that. Inexpressive Kashiwada and expressive Ota. I honestly really like this show. I think I really enjoy this show. Oops, too high. I think this one has been another like really good, like sort of like schoolroom comfort anime. Previously I was talking about My Friend's Little Sister Has It In For Me. The love, that's what I was talking about when I was saying love triangle bullshit. And I may still yet like it. Now I am going to talk about Inexpressive Kashiwada and Expressive Oda. And I've enjoyed this one quite a bit. I like this whole thing. I heard some people comment about like he basically just bullies her and everything, but like I feel like you're kind of missing a couple of things with that. He's doing like the typical like middle school thing, where like he is pestering this chick that he's actually really interested in. And that's where we get to him doing his whole battle over Lime, where they're going to like do this whole like text exchange and get each other to react and everything. And of course, he loses as always. But I think they're really starting to like imply that like Kashiwada has a crush on Oda. Then, of course, we get Stalker Girl going into a battle of like who's going to react first with Oda, and that was funny because she like completely loses. And then we have the whole storage room thing, which he starts to actually like realize that she's not just laughing at him all the time, but she's actually like there are some times where she is genuinely like scared. It's a nice show. I've enjoyed quite a bit of it just because I like the way they've done the characters and the whole dynamic going on here. I think it is endearing, but that's just my opinion of it. I think that I like our dynamic duo and like all of the friends and supporting characters in it just make it a little bit better. It's a lot in the same vein as something like Aharen-san is incomprehensible, but still good. All right. Yano-kun's Ordinary Days. This is another one that I've enjoyed quite a bit. So we get the dodgeball episode, and we learn that Yano actually has quite a bit of luck when it comes to sports. It's just that in everything else, he is terrible. So in spite of the fact that he gets hit in the face a bunch, you would seem to think that was unlucky, but because getting hit in the face doesn't count, he never actually gets out. But in that time period, we do have the home visit thing happen, and our girl gets confronted by Yano's dad and is asked, like, you have feelings for him, right? And of course, we do learn that like bad luck is genetic and all of that, and like there are a bunch of good, like feel good things about this. It's another one of those like comfort shows where it doesn't have some like I don't know. It won't sell you on some like big like character hook or something like oh there's this dramatic reveal or anything. It's just nice to watch. You just enjoy it. And that brings us to the last one in the interesting category. Hands off. Sawaranai Kotesashi-kun. I like the girl, but the whole eye patch thing irritates me. What's wrong with it? Did he lose the eye? I can't seem to stop thinking about it while watching. That kind of comes across as like a meaningless detail to me. It's just like whatever. It just sort of like it fits the character, but who knows? So this is one that I actually have genuine praise for as well. And like it's been a better ecchi anime than most ecchi anime that have come out. So they didn't go for like the usual trope of oh every single girl here hates him and no one's on his side and he's constantly being done dirty. They try like um basketball girl tries to frame him and everything, but that gets shut down by soccer girl and volleyball girl. And they go through that whole thing. And this is also one where the intro for the show actually isn't all that bad. Like normally these like short like half episode ecchi anime tend to have like terrible intros because people just don't try. They recruit people who just aren't really like all that great for them. But hey, this one actually I kind of liked. Really, the bulk of this episode, though, is now our guy goes and does the whole massage thing for Soccer Girl. But in the meantime, she is like very actively flirting with him. Like she is trying to like get her hands on this guy and like do something with him. But he just completely shuts her down. He just completely ignores what happened there. And honestly, dude, how did you do that? Like this chick's practically throwing herself at you. How did you manage to just completely ignore everything that is going on and just like yeah, it don't make sense, boy. How did you screw up that badly? You fumbled. And that, of course, closes out the interesting category for at least these reviews. And that brings us down to the okay category. It is easy to ignore a girl throwing titties in your face. Well, that's because you're gay, Biggles. So, wand dance. Let's talk about wand dance. I'm kind of falling asleep in part of this one. The parts that I like in this show are the interactions between Wanda and Cabo. The rest of the show isn't exactly all that thrilling. It's really disappointing to see like the way that they have animated a lot of these things because I feel like that could have been a nice piece of like eye candy for the show. Is just like the good animation. But we get a lot of CGI in this, and we even had those mocap scenes that everyone was complaining about calling them AI. Outside of just the two main characters themselves interacting, I really haven't enjoyed this show. Maybe it's just me. It doesn't have the thing that I'm looking for. I find a lot of the other stuff like learning to dance and all that pretty incredibly boring. I don't hate the message of it. Again, when it comes to like characters and their own personal struggles, I like that stuff, but a lot of the show is not my thing so far. I haven't been super invested in it. So, womp womp. That brings us to a star brighter than the sun. And this one's going up in the interesting category here. So these latest two episodes have actually really convinced me that this is going to be like my shojo fix for the season. I do like a lot of like the characters in this. Again, our main girls, our main girls like friends are great. Like Sui being just like the airheaded girl who is like trying to like do as much trying to do as much to get these two together. And then of course blunt girl who is constantly like talking sense and just like being like very like straightforward and everything. And they're good characters. Of course, Kami Shiro himself has good friends, and there was that whole like interesting thing where like you basically have like three couples sitting across from each other. So like the two blunt characters, the two like dummy characters, and then of course our main guy and girl. Now that I'm caught up on it, it's very clear that the two of them like each other, but I'm also very disappointed in the fact that like our main girl is getting this idea like, oh, he doesn't care for me, he has a crush on someone else. He's talking about this girl, she's so amazing and all that, and it clearly couldn't be me when it clearly couldn't be anyone else. And that's the reason I didn't move this up to like very good or must watch, is just that one part of like that misunderstanding annoys me. Otherwise, everything else has been really, really good about this anime. Well, everyone calls her Sui, but her name is Hisui. And that brings us to a mangaka, or no, not a mangaka's weirdly wonderful workplace. Chitose is in a ramune bottle. And this is yet again one that goes up in the interesting category because it's fairly good in the second episode. I actually very I don't know where I was going with that. I enjoyed it very much. I thought it was a really solid episode of just character driven storytelling. I like the interaction between Saku and our in which Saku is basically just like, stop blaming everyone else and take charge of your own problems. Do something for yourself. You can't keep pawning off all of this on everyone else and making it their fault. At some point, you need to take responsibility for your life and do something. Um, nah, I really doubt it. Like there wasn't a doubt in my mind in there. I Is there the potential for me to be wrong? No, but I seriously doubt that he likes someone else at all. Anyway, Chitose is in a ramen bottle. Very good character-driven storytelling. I like the way they do a lot of things. Some of the stuff is still kind of like confusing, like where they're coming from. I feel like there are missing parts to characters that probably should have been in the anime that we should understand, but we'll probably end up getting later. But for now, I really have enjoyed just Saku being Saku in this. Like Chitose being himself in all of this is what ends up making this show that much better. And the second episode does a whole lot better of a job showing us why he's a good character, why he's the protagonist, and making him a likable person. So I'm excited to see more. Hopefully, I'll be able to bump this up again at a future date. But that brings us again to the bottom three here. And unfortunately, these are all varying degrees of I'm not watching this anymore. So, Mangaka's Weirdly Wonderful Workplace. Binge list. When it comes to this, I'm not feeling it. I feel like it could probably be like a good binge as a dub. Like you could go into it, watch it in English, get some good laughs out of it, watch the whole thing through, be done with it. But it's got its charms. I just don't want to watch it right now. Sorry, Biggles, but I'm not sticking with it. This one is going to be a drop for me. So I'm. Oh wait, well, that's the wrong one. That's what I wanted to go with. A mangaka's weirdly wonderful workplace. That's the one I just cleared out of here. I don't want to watch it right now. So binge list. Dark history of the dark history of the reincarnated villainess. I'm straight up putting this one in bad. Like I can't with this one. So the first episode I was like, all right, I will excuse it if like it's supposed to be cringy and all that, but the second episode the pacing was dog shit. The whole like thing with like the werewolf beast of lust or whatever it was, that was so bad. It was so bad. The music choices for a lot of these scenes sucked ass. I'm done with this show. The animation wasn't good. The only thing that it will be memorable for is its intro at this point. Its intro and sucking ass. It just blitzed through so much shit. And I was kind of looking forward to it because it looked like the kind of like cringy, fun, dumb thing that I would want to watch. But like it just did so much wrong. It literally rolled nat ones on everything. Like critical fail after critical fail after critical fail. And then, of course, we get to Mechanical Mary. And this one goes in the not for me category. And to be fair, guys, I said I was going to be pretty harsh this season, so I'm dropping a lot of anime that I don't want to check out. We did the whole cucked by a robot thing again. Because our main guy was starting to become suspicious of Mary. So they decided to, make a robot Mary and do the whole thing of like how she's supposedly better and all that. They have their fight. Mary wins. It's basically Ninkoro over again. And with the animation with this and just not really caring for the characters or anything, like Mary is like the only reason that, or Marie is the only reason that I would want to watch this. And even she's not really enough to keep me invested in everything that's going on here. So Mechanical Marie it's a drop for me. I'm done. I'm not continuing on with this. Perhaps it's a better manga or light novel or source material of any kind, but it is in fact not my thing. And now that brings us to the last two anime of the night, the two new ones that I have added to the list. And that is One Punch Man and Little Miss Vampire Can't Suck Right. This dumb shit. So I'll be objective about this dumb shit. It's just okay. Like there's a lot of like stupid stereotypical stuff about it. And I find it endearing? Yeah, I like a little bit of the art style. I like some of the character interactions and all of that, but it is by no means some amazing out of this world creation. It definitely has its cringy moments, like genuinely cringy moments, but I still enjoy it in spite of that because I don't know. I find something endearing about it, and the fact that it is better animated than One Punch Man, which I don't know how this stupid fucking anime happened to be better animated than One Punch Man, but it was. Speaking of One Punch Man, it's the last one of the night. One Punch Man is just okay in the first episode. It has a really good anime like intro, but that's about the only thing that I can say that I would praise about this latest episode. About this episode. The animation was very static. And I know Muffler Tape was in the chat with me when we were, going over some of this. But I compared it to a lot of like the animation for other shows, and it is so incredibly dull to watch that first episode. It feel like I hardly remember most of what happens. Like I can remember the like vague plot and stuff, but like any of the dialogue or conversations that happened in this episode, I don't really remember because I was kind of bored out of my mind watching it. It is a setup episode, and it doesn't really need all of the animation. So perhaps they opted to just be lazy with this episode so that they could use the budget for a better fight or a better scene. But that said, it still doesn't excuse the fact that this sucked. Most like slice of life anime have better static animation, but perhaps when it comes to some of the later fights in the season, we get some absolute bangers. So at the end of the day, this one could rise up the ranks depending on how they decide to go about it. But it honestly doesn't really come as that much of a shock to me that the anime turned out this way, given everything that we knew about it thus far. And with that said, we are at the end of the night. That is interesting. Not just the animation, I thought even the art style was worse than before, like One Punch Man at home version. Interesting. Either way, I'm highly disappointed with that first episode. And I'm looking to see where they're gonna go with the rest of it, but I don't see if there's going to be an improvement in animation, I do not foresee it being for a couple of episodes at the very least. We're gonna have some stuff to get through before it gets good. I guess. So gonna be a slog for a little while. Either way, we're at the end of the night, so we are going to sort of come to a close here. So as I've been doing, it is time to create a poll. So, let's share screen. And now, to any of you who are here or want to participate in the speed ran this one, yeah, kind of. Well, I'm also watching a lot less anime, and I didn't have as many technical issues this time. Anyway, so for those of you who would like to participate in chat, in this selection, there are 4 slots available, and if you want to have your name entered into the game, well, bring it on. Thought I had an app downloaded already. Okay, cool. Give the man a break. He has to rewatch Kamen Rider. All right, so for this week's selection, what are we picking, guys? What are we putting on the list? What are we suggesting for Crimson? So we have Biggles wants to be a part of the group, I guess. So who do we have here? We have, I guess, in chat we have Biggles, Jeremy, Marcel, and Muffler Tape. You know what? Let's go with that. since there are 4 of you here right now, you might as well all just pick one and we'll put it on the list. So, and no, I have not watched The Legendary Hero is Dead. So Marcel says Asobi Asobase. And now everyone keeps saying the legendary hero is dead. But you guys realize that you each get an option. Okay, so Jeremy says Grand Blue Dreaming. Legendary hero is dead. And that literally just brings us to muffler tape. You're holding up the show, man. Tales of Wedding Rings. Okay. All right, so we have our list. Asobi Asobase, Grand Blue, The Legendary Hero is Dead, and Tales of Wedding Rings. That is what you guys have picked. Now, of course, I will be going into next week watching how a realist hero saved the kingdom. So look forward to our review of that next week. Yeah, we do have a pretty cultured selection here this time around. So we're going to see how people respond to this one. And of course, to all of you who are here, a big video project in the works. I'll probably do some shorter videos before that releases because there are some things I do want to talk about. But that's for another time. You will most likely see me Monday on the Biggles Breakdown, and if I decide to do a short video before then. I think Grand Blue is season 1 and Grand Blue Dreaming is season 2. So I would have to watch season 1 before I watch season 2. I haven't posted the poll yet. After I get done with the stream, I will make the poll live. I just wanted to have you guys, see the entries put in there and all that so that we could go over it. It was just easier. Anyway, so my Dress Up Darling video again is, in the works and all that. That's a big project. It's going to take me a little while to get it done with. Either way, thank you all for, participating in this stream. For those of you who, are lurkers or whatever, if you want to join in next week for, taking a chance at being able to choose what my channel will subject me to next week, comment, join in, have some fun with me. Put in a suggestion, something that I can watch within a week, please. That said, thank you all for being here. Biggles, Jeremy, Muffler Tape, Marcel, and I believe JM was in here at one point. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. And I hope you have a great week, guys. And hopefully, we do have Fictionology coming up, so that should be a thing. I got to rewatch Chainsaw Man. Probably will binge that tomorrow. Or at least part of it. That said, signing off, boys. I know I've kind of speed ran it, but it's kind of hot in here, and I was going fast because it's heating up real good, and there's a lot of light on me right now, and I want to kind of get this over with. So have fun. Here's some Mao Mao noise.